Today we're going to be breaking down a whole bunch of burner phones, but before we go full Jason Bourne and Ghost Protocol mode on you and break down a bunch of these classic flip phone burner phones, there is something you need to understand. Now in a second, we're going to head over to the electronics desk and we're going to break all this down. I'm going to show you what phones to use, what phones not to use, but there's something you want to understand before we get into that. And the thing you want to understand is it really doesn't matter which phone you used if there's a paper trail. Now a lot of people say, well, I buy them in cash. And that's correct. You definitely want to buy these phones in cash, but cash is not enough anymore in the world of facial recognition. So what can you do? Well, the first thing that you can do is age the phone. So let's say I buy one of these, comes in a box. On the box, I write April the 14th or July 21st, or whenever I buy it, I write it on the box. You know, let's say I bought this one June 14th of 2018, right? Then it's age. Now what happens is with facial recognition, a lot of things get stored. Now there's a misconception that everything is stored forever. That's not true. It's very expensive to store video footage. In fact, most establishments only store video footage for 1 to 3 months. I live part-time in Vegas, and I will tell you that being in Vegas, a lot of the gaming establishments will keep their footage for 1 calendar year. So if you age more than 1 calendar year, you're going to be far outside, especially if you bought it at a smaller establishment. But it is one thing to keep in mind, regardless if you buy like this iPhone 12 Pro or if you buy this ZTE flip phone, and every phone in the middle that we're going to go over, aging it, your phone and your SIM is the first thing that you really need to worry about, even if you buy in cash. All right, let's head over there. We're going to be talking about burner phones and what phone you could use for this. Now, for a long time, burner phones have been a fascination of people who've watched Jason Bourne movies, The Art of Deception, and really just anything you've seen on TV that involves crime or involves a secretive life. Burner phones have always caught people's imagination. You got people like Jason Statham in the movie Mechanic. Opens up a box, you got burner phones, you got passports, you got cash, you got a gun, you put it in a bag, and you hit the road. Well, we're going to talk about the burner phone part today. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is what's the right phone. So most of you guys are going to have an iPhone or a phone similar, a smartphone as you would have it. And most people nowadays have some sort of smartphone, whether it's an iPhone, Android, etc. You do not want to use that because they are highly tracked. The technology in the modern phones is extremely good and it is not the right phone. But a question I've gotten in the past is, should I use an app? Now, there are a couple of apps that I personally use like Pseudo, but frankly, I'm a technology type of guy when it comes to hardware, so I prefer a completely separate device. So I'm not going to focus too much on apps in this video. We're going to focus more on the actual hardware. So with the traditional smartphone out, what does that leave us with? Well, you've probably seen a host of these Samsung, these old phones, these track phones, that company that is you can typically find in a big box store. Also, you've got different prepaid phones. Now, you've got the classic flip phone. This specific phone by ZTE, literally under $20. You buy it in cash. I bought this one a couple of years ago with cash. Now, most big box outfits will only keep data of security footage for so long. So whether it's 30 days, 7 days, a calendar year, it is only so long. They don't keep this stuff forever. Now, I'm not saying going out and doing something illegal or deceptive, but I am saying that buying these in cash, which is a practice that I do utilize, I have several of these. They are the flip phones. They are the least technologically advanced, but for texting and phone calls, they are perfect. Very inexpensive. You can buy them in cash. Don't sign up for their plan online like they would like you to do. You can actually also buy the minutes in cash at a convenience store or, again, a big box retail outlet that connects with this. You get a phone number that's not connected to you. You can use a dummy name. In fact, you can use everything dummy. You call in, you activate your phone, and you are good to go. You have an untraceable phone. However, you need to understand how these things work. So, you wouldn't want to use a smartphone. Would you want to use something like this BlackBerry? This is actually still one of my favorite phones. Even though I have 2 iPhones, I actually also have a BlackBerry. This BlackBerry is amazing. It is one of my favorites, and it is in my go bag. Now, the one thing that I will tell you about this, much easier to track something like a BlackBerry even easier to track one of these Samsungs because of the GPS. So there are two standard types of tracking. You've got triangulation, which was really popular in the 90s. That's pretty much what they had. And then they decided they needed to put a GPS tracking chip. Now, most modern phones, even some of the modern flip phones, they still actually are produced and sold, do have GPS tracking enabled. Now, I'll do a separate video on how to remove GPS tracking chips from these type of phones. It is possible where it is not possible from these, or if it is possible, it's not something the average person wants to do. And even in something like this BlackBerry, not the best option. However, you can make something like this BlackBerry semi-anonymous. So this, zero anonymity. Quite literally, the iPhone or a similar Android, zero anonymity. The BlackBerry, medium to intermediate anonymity and security is very good on BlackBerries, which is why I still use it for a business phone for a lot of tasks. And this flip phone is going to be your best bet because it can be not connected to you at all. You can grab a flip phone, you can make some calls, and then you literally, as you've seen in the movies, can discard it in the trash and nobody the wiser. Usually people will take the battery out, SIM out, break it in half, throw it out. It can't be traced, it can't be tracked. It's pretty much invisible and ends up somewhere in a landfill. So the burner phone is a phenomenal option. Now, I typically use it in one of these RFID bags. So I'll usually have chargers and things in here, and I can slide whatever phone is. The reason I'll do that is it's a lot. Now, typically when you transport these, you do want to always keep them off. Also, with these older ones like these, what I will do, of course, is I will take the battery out. Now, I live here in Vegas, and there are quite a few different conventions that are about hacking, that are about art of deception, that are about magic and magicians and cardistry and more deceptive practices here in Sin City. So whenever I go to those, I'll usually bring a phone like this with the battery out. I can pop it in and make calls. I can also dispose of it. You do not want to go to DEF CON or any of these other conventions with something like this because it could be hacked to pieces. Or any other smartphone. So there's different reasons you'd want this. Doesn't mean you're a criminal, doesn't mean you want to go out and do illegal activities. I highly recommend you do not do any illegal activities, but for anonymity, maybe for business purposes, also if you think someone is trying to stalk you, trying to track you, these are great options. And what it is they buy space on other towers. So they buy space from other companies, so Verizon or T-Mobile or a host of different companies, and that's why you see a lot of these little prepaid cell providers pop up. And if you buy it in cash, and you buy the minutes in cash, and you activate it on a fake name and a fake email, which is very easy to do, it literally is untraceable. It's not a Hollywood prop. It actually is untraceable, but you need to understand that when you start using the phone, your location starts to be able to be traced. So that's why you see people use it and lose it. So you need to keep that in mind if you are going to use a burner phone. And the last thing I want to touch on is phone selection. So some people have asked, well, if that's the case, couldn't I use a intermediate smartphone, these Samsung phones that are probably about 6-7 years old, couldn't I use something like that? And the answer is yes, you could. You absolutely could, because again, the goal is to use it and lose it. And you can find these for, maybe 30, 40 bucks. They just are a little bit more expensive. So if you find something like this for 20, 30, $40, and you find something like this for $5, $8, $15, it's going to be a lot easier to throw this away than it is this. You could buy 2 or 3 of these with this. So that's usually the reason, is the flip phones. There are promo deals. I've asked somebody, hey, I can get flip phones for free. Well, what they want you to do is sign up for their prepaid plan. And so again, if you do that, you're giving your actual information. So even though the phone is free for pretend, you become the product and your information becomes linked to it. And then you're a guy with a flip phone for a regular phone because you just attached your real identity, so you defeated the purpose. And so now you're just gonna be walking around with a flip phone all the time. So I would not recommend that. I would recommend doing it anonymous. Cough up the $5 to $15, maximum $20 to purchase one of these. I would purchase one, just tuck it away. You can get one of these. You can get one of these shielding cases. A lot of people use these type of things for EMP. This one obviously will not block an EMP. You can get the foil wraps. There's a lot of different ones. Also, I've got this travel one that blocks RFID as well, and it allows me to put chargers, phones, and cards in here. And so whenever I travel, I can have more of a European style wallet. man purse, whatever you want to call it, and I can have that as well. So that gives you an option for burner phones, and it kind of gives you a direction of where we're going for this. So that's what you want to look at if you are getting a burner phone. Appreciate you checking out this video. If you haven't already, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. We're putting out new videos here on Privacy X Project every single day. You can go on this journey with us. How to disappear in a digital world, piece by piece, step by step. We are breaking it down on this channel. Stuff that I've done for a long time after being a victim multiple times of identity theft and other serious issues. I started to disappear on the radar, and I've been breaking down the pieces for you on this channel. Have an amazing day. I'll see you tomorrow.